There's been a lot of studies done where that actually show that the businesses that score the highest on employee engagement are the ones that are the most profitable. In fact, one through Gallup's meta-analysis showed a 21% higher level of profitability just based on the level of employee engagement within that organization. And with that said, only 15% of employees are actually engaged within the workplace. So if only 15% of employees are engaged within the workplace, that means there is a whopping 85% of employees that are disengaged with their work, right? That's wild. So if you run a company, statistically speaking, 85% of your employees can be disengaged, which again is going to decrease your profitability. So how do you actually keep your employees engaged? Hello.
Have you ever played the true or false game? Because that's what we're about to play right now. True or false? The level of your success in business either rises or falls based on your level of leadership. True or false? The success of your relationship either rises or falls based on your leadership. True or false? The success of your city, of your community, of your state, of your country, of the world rises or falls based on the quality of leadership. If you're somebody who believes that the answer is true to all three of those statements, you are in the perfect spot today. Because what we're going to do is we are going to equip you with 4 strategies that you could use to be an amazing leader that inspires high performance out of your team as well as out of yourself. Now, we say it's unconventional because a lot of the things we're going to share today can sometimes go against popular wisdom, but it's based on our own experience, based on leading a lot of different teams across a variety of different industries. And we want to equip you with this so that way, with your level of leadership, as it continues to rise, so does the success of your business and your relationship.
If you're still getting to know us, my name is Ariel. This is Kyle. And we've both been entrepreneurs over the last 11 years. And during that time, we've actually been behind the scenes helping coaches and companies make 6 and even 7-figure jumps in their revenue. And with that, we've been able to help our clients sell over $77 million online. Now, we give all the glory to God for any of these credentials or anything that we share, but we do want to share them just to raise your confidence in who you're learning from inside this video, as well as inside this community. We are talking today about how a couple of unconventional leadership strategies that really inspire high performance from your team, but also from yourselves as, individuals and as couplepreneurs, right? And just to kind of share a little bit of our experience in this topic. So Kyle specifically has hired and led high performing teams for 3 companies now. Some of them were teams of 25 or more people. And it was a mix of contractors as well as, internal team members and employees and things like that. So he really had to bring together people from inside a company as well as sometimes even outside of a company and set them on the same track, working towards a unified vision within that company. So that's some of Kyle's experience. I've also been working alongside a lot of my clients and helping advise them on their team, both hiring as well as leading their team. And together we lead our core team for this business specifically. So one of the biggest reasons that we've been able to really scale businesses is because we were able to lead the right team members to accomplishing the goal, right? And quite honestly, there's a lot of leadership books. There's a lot of people that talk about leadership, and you can read a bunch of the books. You can go take all the courses. You can do all the things, or you can implement what we're going to teach you in today's training, because we want to really condense some of the things that have been responsible for us leading teams across the last 10, 11 years.
Because there are 4 specific strategies that you could use to inspire your team and yourself, even if it is just you. Even if you don't have a team right now, you could use these same strategies to inspire yourself to high performance. And we're going to show you how each one of these strategies actually align with how you and your significant other can run businesses in the most efficient and effective way possible. Because it all applies. It is all holistic. And the most successful couplepreneurs that we have ever seen, they all apply this in their work.
Yeah.
Y'all ready for this? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. You ready for it? All right. So let's do strategy number 1, shall we?
Yes.
All right. So the first strategy that every great, amazing leader is able to do, and we're going to show you how to do as well, is whoosh, behind curtain number 1.
Number 1 is to set the vision.
Yes.
Set the vision. Now, I want to, pause here for a moment. Don't check out for this, because a lot of people think that they're setting a vision because they have a goal in mind. But a lot of times what happens is they forget to actually communicate that goal, or more specifically, they feel like they have this vision, but not everyone within their company or their organization can really see their individual vision within the vision of the business or the organization. And when we talk about leadership, when we talk about businesses and the success and the profitability of those businesses, there's been a lot of studies done where that actually show that the businesses that score the highest on employee engagement are the ones that are the most profitable. In fact, one through Gallup's meta-analysis showed a 21% higher level of profitability just based on the level of employee engagement within that organization. And with that said, only 15% of employees are actually engaged within the workplace. So if only 15% of employees are engaged within the workplace, that means there is a whopping 85% of employees that are disengaged with their work, right? That's wild. So if you run a company, statistically speaking, 85% of your employees can be disengaged, which again is going to decrease your profitability. So how do you actually keep your employees engaged?
Yeah, I had to learn this the hard way. So many of you guys watching this, you might have seen a video that we did that was all about how to generate a quick cash infusion at will for any business. And the story that I told in that video was about my first experience leading a marketing department, where I had to very, very quickly change the culture, get fast results, drive a lot of revenue, and also learn by trial and error how to be a good leader. And one of the things that I just heard and applied immediately was to set the vision for the team. But there was also a leadership principle to that as well. When I went into this team to lead them, I knew I needed to do something to inspire them. Yeah. Even though this was my first time leading a team. I was 25 years old at the time. There's a little bit of people looking at us like, who is this young kid? Like, what does he have to know? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something that just blows their mind. I'm going to set them on fire. We are going to motivate them. So what I did,
as you do,
as we do. So I think it was like Ed Milet or John Maxwell, one of those guys said, you need to set a vision so big that your team members could see themselves being a part of, so that every single team member could see the fulfillment of their individual vision within the vision of the company. So what I did on day one is I went in and I started talking about our vision. And for this specific company, this was a real estate investing software company. And the vision of the business coincided with the level of impact that the business was making in the lives of other people. So for this specific software, this company was impacting real estate investors across the world who were able to generate over $10 billion in real estate transactions while using this software. And how many of you guys know that if you're generating 10 billion in revenue, odds are pretty likely that you're impacting a lot of people? How many of you guys also know that if you're being impacted financially by a program or a service or something that you're a part of, your life is better? So we had real estate investors that were making tons of money, and they were able to go on vacations with their family. They were able to quit their jobs. They were able to become full-time real estate investors, all because of the software that we were selling at the time. So I conveyed this to the team, and one by one, you could just see the lights turning on in their minds. You could start to see them getting excited about selling and marketing the program that they had, the software that they had. And every single chance I had, I would just point back for the team. I would point back to this vision, say, hey, this is what we're doing. Of course, we're selling software, but what are we ultimately doing? We're helping people achieve freedom. And here are all of the results of all of the people we are serving every day. And wouldn't you know it, that was when combined with strategic marketing principles that we covered in the Cash Infusion video, that is what enabled this team within 30 days of me taking over to generate the highest revenue month that the company has seen, which was just over $1.1 million in revenue. And I was like, oh, thank God. It worked. So the beauty is that whether you went to college for this or you didn't, whether you have a certification or you don't, if you just apply this will put you eons ahead of 99% of leaders out there that are essentially just bossing people around. They're not getting people enrolled and involved in the ultimate vision of the business. Yeah. Now that's how you get high performance out of your team. But think about how this applies to you as well. If you wake up every single day and you are crystal clear on the direction that you're going, and your spouse wakes up every single day and they are crystal clear on the direction of where you both are headed.
And that is the same.
Yeah,
that vision is the same.
Yeah, exactly. You were both walking lock and sync, unified on what you perceive your calling to be and what you perceive the ultimate goal and vision for your business to be. What happens? You are so much more motivated. You were so much more clear. You were so much more confident that everybody else around you sees it. They recognize it and they're like, these people mean business.
Something's different.
Something is different about this couple. So here's the principle. The principle is, and all of you can apply this immediately, is to set a vision that is so grand that everybody, including yourself, can see all of your goals being fulfilled within the vision for your business. Because our mission, we'll tell you straight up, we want to have a tangible impact on how society views marriage and how society views business.
Yes.
There's this old weird belief that growing a business and being wealthy and having a thriving marriage is either impossible or evil or bad. And we want to get rid of all of that. And we want to show the world that you actually can have a thriving business and a thriving relationship at the same time, even if right now it's just the 1% of the 1% that are doing it.
Yeah.
That's the impact that we want to make. That's just the beginning of it. And it gets a little bit juicier from here. So strategy number 2, to lead your team to high performance. What's behind curtain number 2? Y'all love that curtain, right?
Strategy number 2 is to communicate expectations. So essentially, communicate very clear expectations of what success looks like in your team member's role or each other's role. If you're, the two of you are working together, right? So it's communicate the expectations of what success looks like in their role. Many business owners come to us telling us that their team members are underperforming. Right? They're underperforming. They're not doing what they said that they were going to do. They're not seeing the results that they want. And usually what happens is we ask, number 1, okay, what would it look like for your team to be performing well? What would that look like? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time they don't know the answer to that question. But even if they do, then, okay, we're like, okay, how have you communicated what that looks like to your team? Have you communicated what success looks like to your team? And usually the answer is no. So is it any wonder why your team may be underperforming or you're not seeing the results that you want, be it with a Facebook ad agency, be it with an assistant, be it with a house manager, which some of you, we encourage you to have, right? So when it comes to this, make sure you're communicating very clear expectations of what success looks like within their role.
Yeah, we've had so many conversations like this with our clients. So I know some of you guys know we have different levels of coaching programs with entrepreneur couples from all over the world. And a lot of these couples have team members because we work with very successful people and we're very blessed with that. And there's so many conversations. Like there's one that came to mind where someone came to us and they said, my salesperson is not performing well. And we asked exactly what Ariel said, like, well, what did you communicate to them to perform? And the response that we got was, oh, well, I didn't really say. I just hired them and I expected them to do their job.
Because they were a salesperson and they had experience.
That's
and
right.
So I just brought them in.
Yeah. And there's no fault to anybody if you ever found yourself in this position. But the reality is that the responsibility of communicating the expectations lies with you as a leader. Yeah. So it is up to you to define exactly what it is that you want your team to do and clearly communicate that, because essentially you want to hold a standard that they can actually live up to. So I communicated this to our client and she immediately worked on this and she reshifted the priorities and she communicated the priorities to her team and she was able to see a lot more productivity. And we've done this over and over again. Yeah. Now, how does this pertain to couplepreneurship? If I was to ask you, I'm going to pass it back to you. How would this pertain to couplepreneurship?
Yes. So when it comes to communicating clear expectations, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to couplepreneurship, a lot of times what happens is couplepreneurs, you're in a relationship together, mm-hmm. you're working together, either in the same business or like there's that overlap if you both run separate businesses, right? And a lot of times there's a little bit of expectations that are being set by each other, but are not being communicated to each other, which creates resentment, right? Yep. So when that happens, when it's not clear what you're both supposed to be doing in the business and in the household, resentment starts to build as a couple. Yep. Now, also specifically what tends to happen is a lot of couples will divide up roles and divide up like the responsibilities by just strengths, right? By just strengths. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is that, again, creates resentment because some people feel like they're not really operating in their area of gifting or they're not really sure how to get the result because it's not really their where we like to say like where their energy style lies.
Yeah.
So what we actually encourage couples to do is to get hyper clear on their roles, but also to divide up roles by what we call energy styles versus just strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, when it comes to dividing up roles and setting expectations between a husband and wife or partner to partner inside of a business, energy styles is the thing that we've seen work so much better than strengths and weaknesses or personality types or things like that.
Yeah.
That being said, we want to make sure that we are very, very good at communicating expectations. And if you want to know strategically where you could put this in your business, usually this happens right at the beginning of the onboarding process when you're hiring on new team members. So 3 simple steps, okay? Everybody could do this. You could write it down if you want. Number 1, when you're onboarding your team member for the very first time, you want to have an idea in your mind of what success looks like for their role.
Yes.
Very, very important. And by the way, if you already have a team member and you're like, oh, shoot, we didn't do this, that's okay. You can always start today. You can always start with step number 1, defining exactly what success looks like in their role. Number 2, work with that team member very closely to get to the point where they are achieving success as you've defined it. So like in the beginning, a lot of people will just hire team members and then just like let them run loose. Like that's never, ever the idea. The goal is to, when you're onboarding somebody for the first time, you set the expectation of what success looks like and you work with them on a daily basis in the beginning, usually the first 30 days, to help them accomplish what your definition of success is. It's very, very important. Then number 3, something that we love to do is have our team members send us end of day reports. So that way we can look at what is the progress being made? How are they measuring themselves? Are they hitting the KPIs that we set for them? And this creates amazing discussion points for us to be able to have meetings in the future about what we could do to get us closer and closer and closer to the definition of success.
Yeah.
So that's what you can do when you're hiring a team member and you're onboarding them to high performance. And I promise you, like when we've onboarded team members, like whether it's in this business or in other businesses, I've had people say this is like the best onboarding experience I've ever had because we're so diligent about saying, this is what success looks like. Here's how you contributed to it. And here's how we're going to get you there. Again, this applies towards your business. It also applies towards your relationship with your significant other, because as Ariel said, if expectations are not met, that will create resentment in your business. The ability
in your life.
Pretty much everywhere, right?
Yes.
The way to solve that is to actually communicate the expectations in the first place.
Yes.
Sound cool? I know it sounds cool. That's the second strategy. So now that we set the vision, now that we've communicated the expectations, the third strategy to get high performance for your team and for yourself is something a lot of people don't like, which is
make corrections. Make corrections. I was going to say this is going to be a little bit of the tougher one. So making corrections. This means correct mistakes immediately and often. Immediately and often. Because what tends to happen with entrepreneurs and couplepreneurs is many business owners specifically bear the brunt of just like tolerating low performance and then not knowing what to do with it.
Yep.
So this costs you time, it costs you money, it costs you team morale. If you have multiple team members and maybe one or a couple people are not performing well, it creates some passive aggressiveness, which again creates resentment and friction. And you, as the business owner, oftentimes feel consistently frustrated. And many people will actually swear off of hiring. They're like, I've hired people, it didn't go well, I'm not doing that again, right? Or I hired people and they made a bunch of mistakes and I had to manage it and it gave me more work, right? And so I don't want to do that again. We've been there before as well. For example, many years ago, I hired an assistant for a previous business that I had. And I hired this assistant and I remember thinking like, okay, like she had a lot of potential, right? I saw the potential in her.
Yep.
And when I brought her into my business, she did okay, but I never really felt like I could trust her to perform without me managing her.
Yep.
And I was always seeing her making little mistakes. And after some time, I brought it up to Kyle and I was like, hey, like she's doing okay, but there's a lot of mistakes happening. And Kyle said something very wise, which was, have you corrected those little mistakes? And I said, well, sort of, like I'll point them out every now and then, but sometimes like I see it later and then I just kind of like let it slide. And he said, if you let the little things go, then she's not going to value precision. So those mistakes will keep happening more frequently and even get bigger. And wouldn't he was right. Oh. Wouldn't I know? He was right.
That recorded, right? Y'all heard it, right? She said I was right. Thank you.
So in my mind, letting some little things slide was not a big deal. But to what he said is what that was doing is it was setting a culture of her not being precise. And so by the time I realized this and I was like, okay, well, like, let me start correcting her now. Here's what happened. I started correcting her. And now we went from a few little mistakes here and there to now I was like, we have to fix this and this and this and this and this. And I was giving her all these corrections and it felt like a lot of criticism to her, right? Because now I had to correct a lot of things. And what happened is it was so uncomfortable for her because I went from not correcting a ton to now correcting a lot that unfortunately she resorted to fudging numbers, like lying about the KPIs that she was hitting and things like that. Now, by no means was that something she should have done. However, my role in that was by not setting the expectation of what was required in her role and not making those corrections as they came. Yeah. So that's why we say to correct immediately and often. Okay. So again, unfortunately, we did let her go at that time. So I realized with this experience that if I had set the standard of what was acceptable and I did that earlier on and I did it consistently, it actually would have been easier for her to rise to the occasion of what I expected and become that productive team member that the business needed. Right. So with that said, correct team members immediately and often. Mistakes will become less and less. And now we're very blessed to say that our team comes to us when they've made a mistake. And we feel like we've had an amazing opportunity to impact our team personally as well as professionally because of it.
Now, of course, when you're making corrections, we're not saying be a jerk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
No, by no means. And I think you guys understand that, right? You understand that we're not saying be mean. We're not saying to belittle. We lovingly point out when things could use improvement. Yes. And it could be as small as like a typo here and there. It could be a missed, metric. It could be just maybe a different, and sometimes it's not even anything wrong. It's just our own preference. We may want something to be worded differently or whatever. Like that's on us to communicate. And Ariel and I hold ourselves to a very high standard as leaders to wanting to make sure that our team members know like what our expectations are. So when we make correction, it's never from a you're wrong because you did this and what the heck and like I can't believe you're like that's never, at least not our approach whatsoever. Yeah. I don't feel like that's very effective, and if it is, it's very short term. Yeah. What we mean here is just empowering you to not be afraid to correct mistakes when they happen, because if you don't correct them, they are just going to keep happening, and it's not your team's fault because you never said anything. Yeah. Now, how this pertains to couplepreneurship, it's a very interesting dynamic because there may be things that you see your significant other doing in the business that may need some correction. But specifically when it comes to pointing out feedback that you want to give your significant other, you want to be careful with this. There's a way to do it and there's a way to not do it. It's easy to see what not to do in the situation. Here's what you don't do. We'll start there. What you don't do when you want to bring up correction with your team member, but especially your spouse, is to come at them with an assumption or a label. So in other words, you don't want to ever come at someone and say, you're not doing this. I can't believe why are you doing, you're annoying, you're X, you're Y, you're Z. I can't believe you can't figure this out.
Or you always do this.
You always do this.
Or you never do this.
Yeah. So if it's coming from like an accusation, if it's coming up from a blaming standpoint, good luck with that. You either have a really, really amazing significant other with tough skin, or you're just going to make your situation worse. So instead of that, we always recommend that when you come to a conversation about feedback, if you want to get feedback, which needs to happen,
it does.
The way you do that is you approach it from an I feel standpoint. So I feel, or I've noticed, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is my perspective. This is what I'm noticing. And I would like to talk about it so we can come to a mutual conclusion. Yeah. That is a very different conversation pattern than, hey, you did this and you always do this, and I can't believe you did this. Same thing applies in your communication with your team, your communication with your significant other, even in your communication with yourself. To be honest with you, let's say you somehow snuck in here and you're single and you don't have any team members, and like I have no idea how you made it through the gates, but you're here, right? If you don't have a team or you don't have a partner and it's just you, like start monitoring the voices that you have in your own head that are telling you, like, you suck. You're an idiot. You're attention deficit. My God, you see so many of that in the entrepreneurial space. Any label you put on yourself, you're basically caging your progress forevermore in that label. So whatever that voice is saying, that you point that out in yourself and be very careful when you're saying it to other people.
Yeah.
And now again, disclaimer. I'm not saying that there aren't certain medical conditions, et cetera, et cetera. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. You guys get it. All I want to encourage you guys to do is stay away from labels, stay away from accusations as much as possible. And when communicating feedback, do it from a place of your observation, your perspective, and trying to get to a mutual conclusion.
Yeah.
Cool? Cool. Does that make sense?
And a mutual conclusion that is best for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Because that is strategy number 3 to be a great leader.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pick it back up again because I think strategy number 4 is probably one of the most powerful strategies you could possibly do, which is number 4.
Instill motivations.
Uh-huh.
Instill motivation. So this means genuinely care about helping your team achieve their personal goals. And with that said, actively play a role in helping them maximize their potential.
People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. I used to hear that and it would go in one ear and out the other because it's just another one of those cliches, except for the fact that it happens to be exactly right.
Yeah.
It happens to be exactly true. So when you're working with your significant other and you're communicating something and you're looking to lead your life and your family forward, unless they feel like you have their genuine interests at heart, they're not going to be excited about it. Same thing applies to your team. Same thing applies to anything you're trying to accomplish in life that involves leading other people. So one of the things that was so humbling to Ariel and myself is because of the fact that we take the time with each and every team member that we have to genuinely find out like what it is that they're excited about in life, where they're trying to go, how they're trying to grow, and like take not a boss perspective, but more of a mentorship perspective to work with them. We've had meetings with our team where they have told us that as a result of working with us, they like other people around them see a positive shift in their life. Mm. And that's something that like, again, I say it's very humbling because we don't take it lightly. We don't take that lightly at all. It's actually like the greatest compliment that we could ever receive from any team member that we work with. And it's because we take time to genuinely understand what does our team want? Yeah. Like every team member is different. So for your team, if you guys are working with a team or even with your own significant other, like think about what is it that they want? What drives them? What motivates them? What gets them excited? Where are they trying to go? And how can you actively work with them to mold them into the type of person they want to become and get to the goals that they want? Even if that end future goal doesn't necessarily have to be a part of your company. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. Like if your goal and your role is to care for your team members at the highest genuine level, sometimes they're working with you on a path or a trajectory to get to somewhere they want to go. And you can help them in areas outside of that. Sometimes you could create growth areas and opportunities inside your own company to allow them to obtain everything they want without ever having to go somewhere else. It just all depends. But it all starts by you doing something that most leaders never take the time to do, which is to actually work with your team and figure out what they want.
Yes.
That's it. Now, this also applies to couplepreneurship as well.
Yes,
would you agree?
Absolutely. Because if you're working closely with your partner, right, you have a unified vision, but there's also things that your partner wants or passions that they have that are maybe outside of your business or outside of what you personally love or enjoy to do. So just to give you an example, Kyle is a musician. He loves to play drums. He likes to write music, produce music, things like that. I don't do that, but I know that that's something that he enjoys. And I love seeing him do it because it makes him so happy. So not only does this apply to your team, but when you see something in your partner that excites them, that they're passionate about, that they're driving towards, encourage that. Mm-hmm. Instill that motivation towards that thing in them as well. And honestly, become their biggest fan again. Because a lot of the time when we start off in relationships, we start off by like being interested in our partner's interests. And then as time goes by and as years go by, we start to feel like, their interests become a hindrance to us, or their interests aren't as interesting anymore because you know them so well. But instead of letting those things die down, encourage those, light that fire in your partner, become their biggest fan, and allow them to fully sprint ahead in whatever direction they have that's going to fulfill them, even if it's outside of what you're doing together.
So one of the things that I'm the most grateful for you, can I just say this publicly, is the fact that out of all of the people that follow us, out of all the people that, are in our world and people that friends, family, whatever, Ariel is always my biggest fan. And that's something that I don't take for granted. It's something that like, whether I'm playing drums and I look out on the front row and I see Ariel literally we're always there, like with a big smile on her face, like there's nothing that touches my heart more.
Winking at
me. Or maybe I held a coaching call. Ariel will text me these texts and just say like, hey, like you're crushing it. Like you're a king. She's always reminding me of who I am and like my potential. And she's always supporting me in that way. And it's something that I think, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong. It's something that I think is a huge contributing factor to the strength that we have as a couple.
Yeah.
And that level of strength, guys, I just want you to experience it. I just want all of you to experience what it's like to have a partner that is your biggest fan. And a lot of times it starts with you making a decision to be their biggest fan.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm also committed to anything that I do in life. Like whatever Ariel wants, I want to be the underwriter to make her dreams possible. I want to underwrite those dreams. I want whatever they are. I want to be the person that comes alongside her and makes those dreams a reality. Because there's nothing that lights me up more than seeing Ariel just happy, to see her joyful. And that level of care for her, I believe, translates to our leadership style across the board. And I think it can for you guys as well. Because I know if you're in this and you're listening to us, like you most likely resonate with the fact that we are service oriented, and most likely that means you are as well. Right. So we're all service oriented entrepreneur couples here who genuinely care about our customers, who genuinely care about our team, and who genuinely care about our significant other. You wouldn't be here if you didn't.
Yeah.
So because you have that, why don't you leverage that more and you maximize that strength that you have as a leader more in order to get high performance out of your team and foster an amazing, wonderful relationship with your significant other.
That allows you both to get what you want.
Exactly. Now, if I had to boil down this strategy into 3 simple steps, it would be as follows. Number 1, have your team members define exactly what they want, right? Number 1, have them define exactly what they want. And this takes time, right? This takes actual time to work with them and like talk to them and figure out what they want. Number 2 is you find ways within your business to get them what they want.
Yeah.
So this could be opportunities for advancement. This could be opportunities for growth. This could be opportunity for, financial incentives, whatever it is. Like find a way within your business to give them what they want. And then number 3, hold them accountable to that. Now, when I say hold them accountable to that, in this instance, I'm not talking about holding them accountable to accomplishing their tasks. Yeah. What I am holding them accountable to is them pursuing the passions that they love. So I'll give you an example of Samantha, our operations manager inside of our Couplepreneurs coaching program. Samantha has a goal of like stopping work at 8 p.m. at night. And she's an amazing team member who will, like, at any moment, if we wanted to, she would be responsive to us in Slack at any hour of the day. Mm-hmm. But because she set a goal and we asked her what she wanted, she set a goal of being done with work at 8 p.m. We are the ones that stop her work at 8 p.m. And we tell her, do not Slack us after 8 p.m. You are done at 8. Do not talk to us. We will not talk to you. Enjoy your time and be with your family, be present. And that level of investment in our team members, I believe, like, it's just like being a human 101. Anything else you want to say?
You want to do a quick recap?
I think you can do the quick. I've been talking a lot. You want to do it?
Yeah.
All right.
So number 1 is set the vision.
Yeah.
Number 2 is communicate expectations.
Yeah.
Number 3 is make corrections.
Yeah.
Number 4 is instill motivations.
Y'all, if you do that, you will be ahead of 90%, 95%, probably even 99% of most leaders, managers, people who oversee other people. Yeah. This will push you miles ahead. And this will enable you to step into who I believe you're called to be, which is a leader. Every single business owner is a leader. No matter what you do, you're a leader, whether you like it or not. And if you know that your business and your relationship and your success and the performance of your team either rises or falls based on your level of leadership, then congratulations for taking the time to learn how to become a better leader. So that way your success in your business and your success in your relationship will continue to rise with that.